If you're from Missouri, especially St. Louis, then you absolutely know about gooey butter cake. I've partnered with my alma mater, Mizzou, to show you how to make this delicious cake, and I'm pretty sure it would make a dang tasty tailgating treat. There are pretty much two components, the bottom cake and then the top filling. We're gonna start off with that bottom. Sound good? Let's bake. Now, there are definitely going to be a lot of different gooey butter cake procedures out there. I just find that this one works really well for me, and it all starts with feeding our yeast. Now, to do this, we have a half cup of warm whole milk in between 112 and 115 degrees Fahrenheit. We're gonna take about a tablespoon of our quarter cup of sugar that we'll use a little bit later, add it right to the milk. And then next, I have a packet of active dry yeast, which we're gonna sprinkle over the top. Give a really quick whisk into this, and then just let it stand until it forms a raft on the top. Really quick, there are pretty much two schools of thought when it comes to making the gooey butter cake. You either start with a pre-made yellow cake mix or you start with a yeast-based cake, which is what I did. And it doesn't matter who you talk to in Missouri, everyone pretty much has their own idea of what they think gooey butter cake should be, and you know what? That's fine with me. So in a stand mixer, we are gonna add in 1 stick of softened room temperature unsalted butter. We're immediately going to add in 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, 1 teaspoon of sea salt. Let's fix the paddle attachment on our stand mixer. We are gonna crank the speed up to medium, medium-high. We want to whip it for 5 to 7 minutes or until it becomes nice and light and fluffy, just like this. Once it's at this consistency, we're gonna add in 2 large eggs, but we're gonna do it one at a time. Don't add that second egg until the first egg is completely mixed in. Then, of course, mix in that second egg, and always adhering to basic techniques. Let's stop and scrape the bowl, get all that goodness off the side of the bowl, scrape that paddle as well, because at this point, we are gonna remove it and fix the dough hook. What we're gonna do from here on out is actually make a dough. So we have 2 1/4 cups total of all-purpose flour, but we're going to add it in 3 batches. So first, let's add in 1/3 of all-purpose flour and mix it on low speed until it's mixed in. And this part can get a little bit goofy because we're going dry, wet, dry, wet, dry to finish off this cake portion, but you can certainly see the raft that is formed on our milk. This is perfect. So we've already added in 1 flour. Now we have 2 more flours and 2 more wets to go. We just want to combine the raft and the milk again, so just give it a quick mix with your spoon. Then let's add in half of it again. Wait until it is completely mixed in before adding in the second batch of our all-purpose flour. Then once that is mixed in, we're going to finish with our last half of our yeast milk mixture. Then finish it off with our flour at the end. I know it's a crazy procedure, but it works. And don't forget to get all that flour off the edge in there. We're going to knead it for 5 to 7 minutes on low speed. And I'm telling you what, this is very similar to a brioche dough bread recipe if you're familiar with baking. Now that our cake is done mixing, now we need to let this rest for about 1.5 hours to 2 hours so that it doubles in size. You can put plastic wrap right over top of this, but for me, I like to put it in a container so I can actually see that it's double in size. What we want to do is just stop and scrape everything, get it all off the hook. None of this goes to waste, and transfer it over to a 2-quart container. See, I love having those measurements on there because I know exactly when it will have doubled in size. Love using these. Scrape all that goodness off there. What we're going to do at this point is put on a lid and put it in a warm, dark place until it doubled in size. This is going to take about 90 minutes to 2 hours to completely finish rising, but that gives me plenty of time to talk about my time at Mizzou, but I'll just take a second. Some of my most fond memories were had at Mizzou. Lifelong friendships and an awesome education to do the job that I still do every day that I absolutely love. Whether I'm shooting or producing my own videos, taking pictures, understanding my camera, knowing how to video edit, understanding audio, and putting it all together on camera to make delicious food every single day, I thank you, Mizzou. Okay, let's go back. Let's see how our dough is rising and have a look at it. As you can see, the cake part, the dough part at the bottom is rising perfectly. We maybe only need another 10 or 15 minutes there until we're ready to roll. So in the meantime, we are gonna make the filling starting off by creaming up some butter and sugar. Let's add in 2 sticks of softened unsalted butter to the stand mixer, hit it with a 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt, 1 cup of granulated sugar, and a 1/2 cup of packed light brown sugar, and super important, a 1/4 cup of light corn syrup. This is what's going to help make it super gooey on top. Fix that paddle attachment. We're going to whip it on medium speed. Again, same sort of process. 5 to 7 minutes until it becomes nice and light and fluffy. I cranked it up to high speed and you can clearly see it is shaking the table totally fine. Now at this point, we're going to add in 1 tablespoon of vanilla. Make sure it's mixed in before adding 2 large eggs. And just like before, do not mix in the second one until the first one is completely mixed in. Stop and scrape. I promise you're going to be a professional baker after this with all the stopping and scraping. At this point, put it back down. We're going to add in a 1/4 cup of whole milk and then hit it with 1 cup of all-purpose flour once that's mixed in. Now, all we want to do is mix it on low speed just until all of the ingredients are incorporated, and boom, that is our gooey butter filling on the top. Looks perfect. Everything's finished, came together incredibly easy. What we want to do now is get everything into the pan. Now you can use a 13x9 casserole dish, or you can put it into 2 9-inch springform pans or cake pans. I'm gonna go with the 13x9 pan. Let's prep it up. Then using about 2 to 3 tablespoons of softened unsalted butter, generously brush the inside of our dish. Then using clean hands, of course, let's scrape our delicious dough right out of our plastic container, get all that out of there. Then just using your hands or even a spatula if you'd like, press it down and spread it across that 13x9 casserole dish. Stretch it so that it is completely covered from end to end. And if for some reason the dough keeps sticking in your hands, just wet them really quick under some cold water, pat it down, you'll be good. Looking really good here. Now what I like to do is add several dollops of that gooey butter filling right on top. Don't put it all in one place. It will be easier to spread. Once it's in there, grab an offset spatula or even a cake spatula and spread it from end to end, completely covering that dough. It's okay if you take the time to do this, no worries. Once it is completely coated, this looks excellent. We're going right over to the oven. It's going to take 35 to 40 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for this to completely finish cooking. Once it is done, let's have a look. Always the hardest part, the waiting game. Should be nice and browned around the edges, a little bit wobbly in the center. This looks fantastic. You'll start to see ravines and concaves and convex all over this. Looks absolutely perfect. And just in case you were wondering, Comies, this would most commonly be eaten for breakfast or as a midday snack. For me, it's way too delicious. You should eat it whenever you want. And it still goes back to these fundamental classic cooking techniques. Using the creaming method, making sure not to overcook it. Putting all these things into practice over and over again will absolutely elevate your everyday cooking and baking. Now, let me show you how to plate this up. Generously sprinkle on powdered sugar all over the top of our gooey butter cake. And remember, once it's cooled to room temperature, you want to store this covered in plastic wrap in the refrigerator. Will last up to 5 days there. Let's grab a knife, let's have a slice and see what we're working with. Remember, it's supposed to be nice and gooey, and this looks amazing, my friends. You should definitely serve this up for breakfast at one of those early Mizzou tailgates or even an awesome treat during the day. You will love this. Now, if you want to see some other local goodness, definitely check out my St. Louis style spare ribs. Oh, so good. I'll see you on there. MIZ.